Hello, Educators First community. My name is Kueny. I am the founder of Compassionate Educators, and I have been a licensed school counselor since 2008. And then previously to that, I was a social worker in the community. And so, what we're going to be doing today is really looking at how you can release the pressure of what's going on right now in your career and take a look at what are some of the next steps that you could take to really make sure that you are getting the support that you need. So as you join, comment hello, let me know where you are joining in from. I'm thankful to Anna and Mallory for creating this space so that we can have these conversations. And so when we look at releasing the pressure, I know that there's so many jokes about teachers drinking. And you'll see wine glasses just for teachers and beer steins just for us educators. And there's this joke about it. And while it can be fun and some teachers more than others like to have a good time and have a drink, sometimes the reality of what's going on is far from funny because it becomes a coping mechanism, right? So there's a difference between let's have a drink and have a good time and have fun and oh my goodness, I cannot stand my day anymore. These kids are driving me absolutely up the wall. I just need to be done. I'm going to go home, have some drinks, and be done with it. So there's a difference there, right? And so what we're going to do is just open up the conversation so that you can start to take a look, whether that's a coping mechanism that you have or not, but just really take a look at what can you do if you are really feeling the pressures of this school year, right? So I want you to take an honest look, and I'm going to ask you some questions. You don't have to post the answers in this group. You can keep that, in another space. But I want you to be very honest with yourself, okay? So what I do with Compassionate Educators is I really provide a community that they feel supported in, just like here in Educators First. And we go really deep into each person's experiences, both professionally, in the school, in the classroom, and also personally. So like I said, we're going to offer some questions. I want you to reflect on those, and then we're going to have a bit of a conversation about what can be done depending on where you are at. Okay, so super simple. It's not a quiz. There's no right or wrong. No shame, no blame, no guilt, no judgment whatsoever. Just a time to reflect. Okay, so the first question that I would like you to ask yourself is to, on a scale of 1 to 10, how stressed do you feel? Now, stressed can look like an anxious mind, just plain old worried about not being able to do the things in the classroom that you would like to do because of behaviors that are being presented. Stressed out because there is too much on your plate and you have no idea how you're going to accomplish it all. Anxious because maybe you have some expectations that are placed upon you and you have no idea how you're possibly going to provide what's necessary or what is being expected of you, right? So on a scale again of 1 to 10, with 1, you're just like, I am good, I got this, like everything is just how it should be, to 10, like, oh my gosh, I don't even want to get out of bed tomorrow because it's Monday, and Monday's the start of the week. I just don't know how I'm going to make it another week. Or somewhere in between, okay? So on a scale of 1 to 10, and if you want to post your number here, you absolutely can, so we can have some back and forth conversation a little bit about it. But I do want you to feel safe and, that whatever is going on for you is secure and confidential. But just be really honest with yourself on that, okay? The next one is on a scale of 1 to 10, how well are you coping? So how well are you coping with what is presenting itself at the current moment and when you are in the classroom? How well are you coping with the behaviors you're seeing, the responsibilities on your shoulders, both personally and professionally? Because we know that it's all interconnected, right? So sometimes we attempt to put the professional life in one box and then the personal in another box and keep them separate and pretend that there's no intersection. But in reality there is, right? There's a lot of overlap between personal and professional, right? So how well overall are you coping with the stresses that are coming up, with the responsibilities that are expected of you? And one being, oh my goodness, I don't know how I'm going to get out of bed tomorrow, to 10, this is kind of like the opposite of the first one, right? So 10 is like, you know what? Like, I'm good. I'm coping. I have support. I have support both in my building. I have support in my personal life, friends or family. I have activities that I'm immersed in that I can go to relieve some of the stress, relieve some of the pressure. If I do have a day that feels a bit much, that I have a way to manage my own emotions. I have a way to manage the workload. I'm able to cope with all of the pieces on my plate without overwhelm, right? So that would be a 10. So for most of us, we're somewhere in between the 1 and 10, right? So again, just be completely honest with yourself about that. All right, and then the final one is on a scale of 1 to 10, how well do you feel supported? Do you have external support systems in place, both at school and at home? And you can even make some notes if it's coming up and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I don't have anybody in my home life that supports me. I want you to really look deeper. Really look deeper. Is there someone that you can reach out to when you're just having one of those really stressful days? Same thing goes with school. Is there a colleague? Is there an administrator? Is there someone in the building that if you're just, had enough and you just need some support, who is that for you that you can reach out to? How well do you feel supported? Again, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being, I can't think of anybody, or I have maybe one person in one of the areas, and then 10 being, yes, I can, if I'm having a rough time, I can scroll through my phone and call several people to support me. If I need something at school, that I have several people that I can go to and ask questions, or just get a little bit of feedback, get some moral support. So again, be really honest with where you're at in this, okay? A lot of times what happens is that we feel like we have to do it all, that we have to wear all of the hats, even all of the hats at one time, and be okay with it, that we can keep adding things to our plates, that we are the superhero teachers, that we can do it all. Here's the thing, is that I do believe that you are superheroes. And no, I don't believe you can do it all because you are also a human, right? And no human being can truly do it all. And that's where the self compassion comes in, where there is no self blame, no self judgment, no self guilt about what you can and can't do. Okay? And if there's someone else in your life who expects you to be able to do it all, to look at how you can gain the clarity and the confidence to tell them, look, these are my limits, these are my boundaries, and I respect my own limits, I respect my own boundaries, and I expect others to as well, right? So getting really clear on where you are right now, because what happens is that if you are at the 9-10 scale of stress, it's going to be so much more difficult to open your eyes to what is available as far as support. It's also going to be much more difficult to be able to manage what is already on your plate. So I want you to build a support system and to take things off of your plate. I want you to get uncomfortable about removing things off of your plate, because I can guarantee that you have too many, because every single teacher that I speak with has one too many, at least one too many things on their plates. So to get really clear about what is serving you, what is benefiting you, what you truly want in your life. And I'll give you an example of this. So one of my clients, she is in her third year, I want to say, her third year of teaching. And the first year that she was teaching, she was just kind of getting in the flow of things. She came back as a teacher in her 50s, a little bit, older than most new teachers, or so she felt. And she wasn't really confident in what she was doing. So the first year, it was all about gaining some confidence in her role. Well, now as a third year teacher, she has so much more confidence, but so much so that she's saying, bring it on. I'll sign up for this committee and I'll help with this event. I'll do this, I'll do that. And she is, in a way, trying to showcase that she's got it down now, right? She's in her third year. She can handle it. But in reality, what's happening is that she's going home every night with migraines. And she is she told me she's sleeping for about 2 hours every day when she gets home. And she's barely functioning. She is going to school. She's doing her job. She's present for her students as much as she can be. But she's saying yes to everyone and everything, which means she's saying no to herself, right? If you're saying yes to everybody else, where does that leave you? Where does that leave you? Are you putting yourself in the equation, right? Are you raising your hand and saying, you know what, I deserve this too. I deserve my time, my energy. I get a piece of this puzzle too, right? Because I know that you give so much. You give so much day in, day out. You're giving to the students, you're giving to their parents, you're giving to your administrators and your colleagues and your family. It's a lot. It's a lot. No wonder there's so much pressure mounting up, right? No wonder there's, like I mentioned at the beginning of this session, all of these jokes about teachers drinking, we can laugh about it, but there's a dark side of it too. And the dark side is that many educators are going home and either going to sleep, getting, sick, getting migraines, drinking, using other types of means of releasing the pressure that is not beneficial in the short or long term, right? So let's be real about the situation, right? Because you matter, right? And if you are not in a position where you are also nurturing yourself, how are you going to model that for your students, right? Our students, they pick up. They pick up on what we are putting out, even if we don't say it directly. Kids are smart, right? Like, they are very smart. And if you're not taking care of yourself, there's a good chance that either one, they're going to learn that self-care isn't important, and or number two, guess what? They can push you over so much easier, right? Because if you're not strong in taking care of yourself in a healthy, compassionate way, it's so much easier to be pushed over, right? It's so much easier for those students to get under our skin and to be able to push our buttons, right? We know what happens. Look, I loved my students. I really did. And the majority of them, they loved me just as much, right? But there's those few kids that they know how to push buttons. And I'm telling you that if you are not loving on yourself, that they're going to be able to get you that much more. And what we want to do is we want to love ourselves so much that when those kids who love pushing our buttons, when they come and they try to push those buttons, there's either no buttons to push, right? You're solid. Or they push those buttons and you know exactly how you're going to respond, right? You're intentionally responding rather than being reactive. That can only be done when your cup, right? We hear about your cup being full. That can only happen at that moment, right? So I want you to consider 3 different things, okay? Number 1 is, what can you take off of your plate? Is it something at work, like the teacher that I am working with and supporting in her journey as to how she is saying no so that she can create more health for herself? Is there something you can take off at work that really isn't necessary? Maybe it's something that you would like to do. Maybe it's even something that you kind of enjoy doing, but it's just not serving your highest needs anymore, right? Maybe it's something at home. When I was, let me see here, I have 3 kids. When I was pregnant with my second one, I was, working full time, taking care of my older child. We had just moved into a new home. I was drained. I was spent. I was done. So when I came home, wow, I just, and plus being pregnant, that's a whole nother piece of it. But when I came home, I was not in the mood to clean the house up and down, right? I wasn't. And when the weekend came around, I wanted to be able to enjoy time with my older son. And so I hired some help with the house. I had someone coming in once or twice a month to help out with some of the housework. So if you are working and you're just like, oh my gosh, I need some support, allow yourself to look at what are some ways in which you can maybe even hire some support, right? I know for me, this was a big shift because no one in my family had ever hired support with cleaning the house. It was kind of frowned upon, like, what, you can't clean your own You can't clean your own home, or are you too good for cleaning, your own toilets? No, it's not about that. Not about that whatsoever. You are giving all day long. Allow yourself a break. Maybe you enjoy cleaning the house. I know for some people they love blasting the music and getting to work and cleaning up. If that's you, wonderful. Wonderful. Keep that, right? But maybe it's something else for you that you're just like, I'm done. I just need to be done with this. What is that? What is that? Okay? Take something off of your plate because it's not going to leave room for you. Okay? And Tracy, yes, intentionally responding, not reacting, right? And the more capacity you have, the more you're going to be able to intentionally respond. When we are drained, when we are, I think of how do you feel when you're hangry, right? When you're hangry or when you're just way too tired and you can't even think straight. We're still human beings, right? So taking care of our needs has to be priority, especially as givers, especially as nurturers. Okay. Okay, so the first thing, like I said, is to take something off of your plate. If it's a little bit scary to take that off of your plate because you feel like you're the only one who can do it, that's okay. Walk through that. If you need support with that, you can always reach out and send me a message too and say, look, I know that I need to take this off my plate. Or maybe it's even a person. Maybe there's a toxic person in your life. I shouldn't say that. There's no toxic people, but there's people with toxic behaviors, right? If there's someone who is, your relationship is not serving you, right? Maybe it's a friend, a family member, a colleague. How can that be shifted as well? Like I said, you can send me a message if you need to brainstorm any of this. And I know that Mallory and Anna as well are absolutely open to that. So any of us, you can send us a message for more support with that, okay? The second thing I want you to consider is what brings you joy? What brings you joy? I want you to create more time and space for that, okay? More time and space to maybe do an activity that you've been putting off since summer. It could be painting, it could be reading, it could be doing some type of team sport. I know that for myself, I just told my husband yesterday that I want to start kickboxing. I wanted to do kickboxing like 2-3 years ago. I don't know, it was before 2020. And I ended up not doing it. And I finally said, look, I know that by participating in this activity, I'm going to just feel so much better about myself. And again, like bringing up those endorphins, having community, getting healthy, right? That's just me though. What is it for you? What is it for you that you want to bring more of, that you want to expand upon? And the reason that I said first to take something off of your plate is because if you attempt to expand more of what brings you joy, but you're already overwhelmed, you're already stressed out, and you try and add one more thing, guess what? It's going to amplify the overwhelm. That's why first I asked for you to remove something off that is not serving you. That's not serving you anymore. And I can guarantee that there's something that you can take off of your plate so that you can have more time to engage in some type of activity that is just going to amplify your joy. And guess what happens when you have your joy amplified? Guess what happens? You go into your classroom, you go into your building, that's going to rub off on other people, your colleagues, your students. It shifts the energy and the environment. One person who shines their light in a dark room, what happens? One person shines a light. The entire space is going to be brighter. So, by taking care of your needs, you truly are helping everybody around you. Okay? So that was number 2. Number 3, what I want to state is if you are in a space in which you just are feeling done. At the beginning, we did the 1 to 10 rating. If you are at the level of stress in which you just don't want to get out of bed in the morning, I don't mean just here and there once in a while, but this is becoming kind of a routine, a habit in which you just maybe you don't even know what can bring you joy. You don't even know, well, I don't even know what activity I would expand on or that I would begin because I just am feeling hopeless and helpless and I just can't go on, right? With my life in this way anymore without some extra support. And that's why we also identified who is in your life that you feel supported by. I want you to reach out. I want you to reach out to your support team, whether, again, that's a colleague, a family member, a friend. If you are just at the point where the pressure is so high that you're going to explode. That can be an external explosion, can also be an internal combustion. But if you're feeling like you might be at that tipping point, I want you to reach out. If you don't feel comfortable in reaching out to someone in your personal or professional life, reach out to, most employers have the employee assistance program in which you can talk to someone confidentially, right? That's covered by the employer, that's covered by insurance. Talk to someone, right? Having support systems around you, feeling like you don't have to do it all on your own, it's going to release so much pressure. You don't have to do it alone. There are people in your life who care about you, who love you. There are also people who you don't even know, who are professionals who want to be there to support you. I talked to, oh my goodness, you guys, like, the public at large. I know sometimes there's this feeling of not having support by the public as teachers. And while I know it can feel that way, I also know that there's so many people out there who their hearts are just going out to you for the incredible work you're doing and want to make sure that you are in a position where you are also okay, right? So it is time to release the pressure in a healthy way, to have the support systems that you need. And if you want to reach out to myself or Mallory or Anna, please do so in Messenger. We are here for you. So if you have any questions, let me know as well. I would love to know what you're taking off of your plate. I would love to know what you are expanding upon that brings you joy, and making sure that you are intentionally creating that support system for yourself. Okay? All right. Absolutely. Oh, Mallory, yes, absolutely. My pleasure. All right. Bye for now.